John Wayne was reading through his lines when the old man walked onto the set. Nobody had seen him arrive. 1 minute the Colorado location was just crew members setting up cameras watching everything with one eye. The other eye was covered by a patch. Wayne looked up from his script. Something about the man made him stop mid-sentence. The stranger wore clothes that didn't look like costume pieces. They looked lived in. His boots were scarred and worn. His hands were gnarled like tree root. "Who's that?" Wayne asked his assistant director. The AD looked over and frowned. "No idea. Security probably missed him. I'll get him moved." "Wait," Wayne said. The old man had started walking toward them. He moved with a limp favoring his left leg, but there was nothing weak about the way he carried himself. He walked like someone who'd spent decades not caring what anyone thought of him. "Mr. Wayne," the man said when he got close enough. His voice was rough as sandpaper. "That's me. They tell me you're playing Rooster Cogburn in this picture." Wayne straightened up. "That's right. You a fan of the book?" "Never read it." The old man spat tobacco juice into the dirt. "But I knew the man." Wayne felt something shift in his chest. Knew who? Rooster Cogburn. Real one. Before some writer turned him into a story. The set had gone quiet. Crew members were trying to look like they weren't listening, but everyone had stopped working. "The character is fictional," Wayne said carefully. "Character might be. Man wasn't." The stranger pulled out a pipe and started packing it with tobacco. "Name's Frank Eaton. People used to call me Pistol Pete. Rode with Rooster back the territories. Before Oklahoma was even a state." Wayne studied the man's face. He was old 70s at least, maybe 80s, but his remaining eye was sharp and clear. "That's quite a claim," Wayne said. "Ain't claiming nothing. Just stating facts." Eaton lit his pipe. "Rooster and me, we worked for Judge Parker out of Fort Smith. Tracked down outlaws in Indian Territory. This is back in the..." The director, Henry Hathaway, had walked over. "Sir, this is a closed set. You can't be here." Eaton ignored him completely. "You're playing him all wrong," he said to Wayne. Wayne felt his jaw tighten. "Is that right?" Rooster wasn't some drunk old fool. He was hard, mean when he needed to be. But there was something else there. Something you ain't showing. "And what's that?" "Fear," Eaton said simply. Wayne laughed, but it came out forced. Rooster Cogburn wasn't afraid of anything. Everyone's afraid of something. That's what made Rooster dangerous. He was scared of being nothing. Scared of being forgotten. So he made damn sure nobody could forget him. Hathaway stepped between them. "All right, that's enough. Security?" But Wayne held up his hand. "Wait. What exactly do you want, Mr. Eaton?" "Want to see you play him, right? That's all." "Why do you care?" Eaton took a long pull on his pipe. "Because Rooster saved my life twice, and I never got to thank him before he died. Figure the least I can do is make sure somebody remembers him proper." Wayne should have let security escort the old man away. Should have gotten back to work and forgotten the whole encounter. Instead, he heard himself say, "Show me." Eaton's eye narrowed. "Show you what?" "How Rooster would have done this scene. We're filming the courtroom sequence tomorrow. Rooster's testifying against Ned Pepper's gang. Show me how the real man would have handled it." Hathaway grabbed Wayne's arm. "Duke, we don't have time for this." "Make time," Wayne said, not taking his eyes off Eaton. The old man smiled, showing gaps in his teeth. "All right, then, but I ain't reading from no script." They set up the scene. Someone handed Eaton a copy of the pages, but he waved them away. "Rooster couldn't read," Eaton said. "Not well, anyway. He'd memorize what the lawyers told him to say, but he'd say it his own way." They positioned him where Wayne would stand tomorrow. The actress playing Maddie Ross wasn't on set, so they had a stand-in read her lines. "Marshal Cogburn, how many men have you shot in your time as a lawman?" the stand-in asked. Eaton was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice had changed. It was harder, colder. "Shot or killed. Let us restrict it to killed so we may have a manageable figure." Eaton shifted his weight. His whole posture had changed. He looked dangerous despite his age, around 12 or 15. "Stopping men in flight, defending myself." The way he said it made Wayne's skin prickle. There was no pride in Eaton's voice. No regret either. Just cold fact, delivered by a man who'd seen violence and dealt it and knew exactly what it meant. The stand-in continued reading Maddie's questions. Eaton answered each one, and with every response, Wayne saw something he hadn't seen before. Rooster wasn't a character. Rooster was real, and real meant complicated. Real meant the violence sat heavy on him, even if he didn't show it. Real meant behind the bluster and the drinking was a man trying to forget things no amount of whiskey could wash away. When the scene ended, the set was silent. Hathaway was the first to speak. That was different. Wayne couldn't find words. He'd been playing Rooster as a lovable rogue, tough but ultimately good-hearted. What Eaton had shown him was something else entirely. "You're making him too soft," Eaton said, reading Wayne's expression. Rooster wasn't soft. He was broken. There's a difference. "The script doesn't call for broken," Wayne said quietly. "Then the script's wrong." Eaton knocked his pipe against his boot, emptying the ashes. "You asked me to show you. I showed you. What you do with it is your business." He started to walk away. "Wait," Wayne called after him. "Will you come back tomorrow? Watch the actual filming?" Eaton stopped. "Why?" "Because I want to get this right." The old man looked at him for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. "I'll be here." That night, Wayne couldn't sleep. He kept replaying Eaton's performance in his head. Around midnight, he got up and went through the script again. Every scene he'd already filmed felt wrong now. Too broad. Too simple. His wife found him at 2 in the morning, sitting at the kitchen table with pages spread everywhere. "Duke, you need to sleep." "I've been playing him wrong," Wayne said. "What?" "Rooster. I've been playing him like every other character I've done. The tough guy with a heart of gold. But that's not who he was." His wife sat down across from him. "This is about that old man who showed up on set. He knew him. The real Rooster Cogburn. And he showed me something I missed." "What did he show you?" Wayne struggled to put it into words. "Pain. Real pain buried under all the bluster. I've been playing the surface. But the character lives underneath." "Can you reshoot what you've already done?" "No. Budget won't allow it. But I can change everything from here forward." Wayne looked at his wife. This could be the one. The performance that finally gets them to take me seriously. She squeezed his hand. "They already take you seriously." "No, they don't. I'm a movie star, not an actor." "There's a difference. I've made 100 pictures and never won an Oscar. You know why? Because I played John Wayne in every one of them. And you think this will be different? It has to be." The next morning, Wayne arrived on set 2 hours early. Eaton was already there, sitting on a fence rail, smoking his pipe. "Didn't think old men needed much sleep," Eaton said when Wayne approached. "I've been thinking about what you showed me yesterday. And tell me about the real Rooster. Not the stories, the truth." Eaton was quiet for a while. Then he climbed down from the fence and gestured for Wayne to walk with him. They walked away from the set, into the Colorado hills where no one could overhear. "Rooster's real name was Reuben Cogburn," Eaton began. "Some folks say he was named after Reuben in the Bible. Others say his ma just liked the sound of it. Don't matter much now." "How'd he lose his eye?" "Knife fight in Fort Smith. Some drunk didn't like how Rooster looked at his woman. Rooster wasn't even looking at her. He was looking through her, the way he did when he was canning something else. But the drunk came at him anyway." Eaton paused to relight his pipe. "Rooster killed him. But not before the man got his blade in good. Took the eye clean out. Rooster never talked much about it after. Wore that patch like it was nothing. But I saw him sometimes, when he thought nobody was watching. He'd touch the patch, just touch it, like he was checking to make sure it was still there." "What was he afraid of?" Wayne asked. "Dying alone. Being forgotten. Same things we're all afraid of, I guess. But with Rooster, it ate at him different. He'd seen so many men die in the territories. Good men, bad men, didn't matter. They all died the same, screaming or silent, and within a week nobody remembered their names." They reached a rocky outcrop overlooking the valley. Eaton sat down heavily. "Rooster drank to forget what he'd done, killed to stay alive, and kept working for Judge Parker because it was the only thing he knew how to do. He wasn't a hero, he was a survivor." Wayne sat beside him. "Did he have any family?" "A wife. She left him after 2 years. Said she couldn't live with a man who had death in his eyes. He never remarried, never talked about her except once when he was deep in a bottle." "What did he say?" "He said he understood why she left. Said he wouldn't have stayed with himself either if he'd had the choice." Wayne felt something crack open inside him. This was the character. This was Rooster. Not the tough marshal from the book. Not even the drunk with a code of honor. This was a man who'd lived with violence so long it had become part of him. And he hated himself for it. "I need to change my whole performance," Wayne said. "Might already be too late?" You've shot a lot of scenes already. Then I'll make the change gradual. Show Rooster opening up, becoming more real as Maddie forces him to face himself. That's what the story's about anyway. This girl breaking through his armor. Eaton nodded slowly. That could work, long as you remember one thing. What's that? Rooster never fully breaks. The armor might crack, but it don't come off. Men like him, men like I was, we build those walls for a reason. They keep us standing when everything else wants to knock us down. The courtroom scene was scheduled for that afternoon. Wayne asked Hathaway for an hour to prepare. I want to try something different, Wayne told the director. Different how? Less performance, more truth. Hathaway had been directing for 30 years. He knew when an actor was onto something. All right, show me. Wayne took his position. The actress playing Maddie, Kim Darby, sat across from him. She was young, barely 20, and she looked nervous. Don't be afraid to push me, Wayne told her. Whatever you see in this scene, react to it honestly. They ran through the testimony sequence. Wayne stripped away everything he'd planned. No big gestures. No raised voice. He played Rooster quiet and dangerous. A man who'd killed and knew he'd kill again and is tired of pretending it was anything but ugly. When Maddie's character challenged him about his drinking, Wayne let real shame flicker across his face before Rooster's defenses slammed back into place. When she asked about the men he'd killed, Wayne paused, let the silence stretch. And when he finally answered, his voice carried the weight of every body, every bullet, every life taken in the name of the law. Kim Darby's eyes widened. This wasn't the John Wayne she'd been acting opposite for the past 2 weeks. This was someone else entirely. Hathaway called cut. The set was silent. Again, the director said quietly, exactly like that. They filmed the scene 6 times. Each take, Wayne went deeper, found more layers. By the final take, there were tears in Kim Darby's eyes that weren't in the script. When they wrapped, Hathaway pulled Wayne aside. What happened to you? I met the real Rooster Cogburn, Wayne said, nodding toward where Eaton sat watching. And he showed me who the man really was. Keep doing whatever you're doing. This is different. This is something special. Over the next 3 weeks, Eaton came to set almost every day. He didn't interfere, didn't give Wayne direction. He just watched, smoking his pipe, occasionally nodding or shaking his head. Between scenes, Wayne would sit with him. Eaton would tell stories about the real Rooster. Small details. The way he'd check his guns obsessively, cleaning them even when they were already clean. How he'd talk to his horse like it understood every word. The nightmares that made him sleep sitting up against walls. Wayne absorbed it all, used it to build the character from the inside out. The scene where Rooster rides straight at Lucky Ned Pepper's gang was scheduled for late September. It was the climax of the film, Rooster charging 4 armed men with his reins in his teeth and a gun in each hand. The night before filming, Wayne found Eaton sitting alone near the horse corral. Big scene tomorrow, Wayne said. Heard about it. Did the real Rooster ever do anything like that? Charge multiple men alone? Eaton was quiet for a long time. Once, he finally said, we were chasing 3 outlaws into the winding stair mountains. They ambushed us, killed my horse, pinned me down behind some rocks. What happened? Rooster rode right at them, screaming like a madman, both guns blazing. Killed 2 of them before they even knew what hit them. The 3rd one ran. He saved your life. Yeah, and asked him after why he did it. You know what he said? Wayne shook his head. He said because somebody should live through this. Not him. Somebody, like he'd already decided he was dead, and the only question was how much good he could do before the bullet found him. Wayne felt chills run down his spine. That's what I need to show in the scene. Not bravery, not heroism. Just a man who's already given up but keeps fighting anyway. Now you're getting it, Eaton said. The next day, Wayne mounted the horse for the charge scene. He'd done hundreds of riding scenes in his career. This should have been easy, but his hands were shaking. Hathaway called action. Wayne kicked the horse forward, put the reins in his teeth, drew both prop revolvers, and something happened. For those 30 seconds of filming, Wayne wasn't acting. He was Rooster Cogburn, the real one, not the character from the book. A man riding toward death because death was coming anyway, and this way at least he chose the terms. When Hathaway called cut, Wayne's heart was pounding. He could taste blood from where he'd bitten down too hard on the reins. Eaton stood at the edge of the set, his one eye wet with tears. He nodded once to Wayne, then turned and walked away. Wayne didn't see him again for the rest of filming. The movie wrapped in October. Wayne threw himself into post-production, working with Hathaway on every cut, every scene. When they finally screened the finished film, Wayne knew. This was different. This was the performance he'd been chasing his entire career. But knowing and proving were different things. The film released in June 1969. The reviews were strong. The box office was better. But Wayne had heard praise before. What he wanted was recognition from the Academy. The Oscar nominations came in February 9. Wayne was nominated for Best Actor, his first nomination in over 20 years. The night before the ceremony, Wayne tried to find Frank Eaton. He called every contact he had in Colorado. Searched for any record of a Frank "Pistol Pete" Eaton. Nothing. The local police had no record of him. The film's security logs had no sign-in sheet with his name. It was like the old man had never existed. Wayne almost convinced himself he'd imagined it. Except he couldn't have imagined the transformation in his performance. Couldn't have imagined the details about Rooster that weren't in any script or book. The Oscars ceremony arrived. Wayne sat in the audience, his wife beside him. When they called his category, he barely heard the other nominee's name, and the Oscar goes to John Wayne for True Grit. The theater exploded in applause. Wayne stood, his legs shaky. He walked to the stage, accepted the statue from Barbra Streisand. At the microphone, he looked out at the crowd. All the people he'd worked with for decades. All the roles he'd played. "If I'd known what this felt like," he said, his voice rough, "I'd have put that patch on 40 years ago." The audience laughed. But Wayne wasn't finished. "This award belongs to someone else," he continued. "A man named Frank Eaton, who taught me the difference between playing a character and becoming one. And I don't know where he is tonight. But if he's watching, thank you. You showed me the truth." He held up the Oscar. "This is for Rooster, the real one." Wayne kept the Oscar in his study. Every time he looked at it, he thought about Eaton and wondered who the old man really was. 3 months after the ceremony, a letter arrived at Wayne's home. It was postmarked from Oklahoma. No return address. Inside was a single page, handwritten in shaky script. "Mr. Wayne, watched you win that statue on television. Rooster would have been proud. I told you he was more than some drunk marshal. You showed people the truth of him, the pain, the fear, the man under all that armor. That's all I wanted. I won't be writing again. My time's about up, and I got things to settle before I go. But I wanted you to know you did right by him. You made sure people will remember Rooster Cogburn the way he deserved to be remembered. As for who I am, does it matter? Maybe I was Pistol Pete. Maybe I was just some old man who knew the real story and wanted it told proper. Maybe I was Rooster himself, come back to make sure his last performance was done right. You'll never know for certain, but you'll always wonder. And that wondering, that's what makes a true actor. Someone who keeps searching for the truth even when the truth stays hidden. Keep that Oscar. You earned it. Not for playing John Wayne in another Western, but for finding the real man under the costume and showing him to the world." Frank Wayne read the letter 3 times. Then he locked it in his desk drawer next to the Oscar. He never showed it to anyone. Never tried to verify if Frank Eaton was real or a ghost or something in between, because the letter was right. The wondering was what mattered. The search for truth. The willingness to strip away everything comfortable and familiar to find something real underneath. That's what Wayne had done with Rooster Cogburn, and whether Frank Eaton was a real person or something his desperate need for authenticity had conjured up, the result was the same. Wayne had finally become an actor, instead of just a movie star, and he had an Oscar to prove it. Years later, when people asked Wayne about True Grit, he'd tell them about the mysterious old man who changed everything. Some believed him. Others thought it was Hollywood mythology. Wayne never cared which. He knew the truth. Had felt it in every scene, every moment of that performance. Somewhere out there, real or imagined, Frank Eaton had shown him the difference between acting and truth. And John Wayne had finally learned the lesson that won him an Oscar.